I'm emeritus professor from Ohio State University, and currently I'm affiliated with Nile University. We do have, as you all know, 3 papers in this session on digital economy overall. I'm very happy to say that this is, as you know, something that is very much needed, and fortunately as well, the paper span the North African countries of Egypt, Tunisia, and Algeria. Start with the second paper, and this is the paper on Algeria, and we have the presenter on site. So let's go ahead and just make sure that we have our presenters. The paper that we have from Algeria is very much a novel one. It's the paper entitled "The Role of the Artificial Intelligence Within the Algerian Economy, an Opportunity or a Threat to the Job Market," and it is co-authored by Azzaz Rachid, who is going to present, and Lylia Sami. So Rachid, you have 15 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that came here. Now, today I'm presenting my research on the role of AI within the Algerian economy, opportunity or threat for the job market or to the job market. Now, as you know, that AI is transforming global labor markets, offering opportunities like boosting productivity, creating industries, improved decision-making, new job creation, etc. And at the same time, some concerns is rising concerning the job displacement, wage inequality, and digital gap or divide, and ethical concerns, etc. Algeria, like in many other MENA countries, is relying or have a heavy reliance on oil exports, with 91%, in addition to other economic problems like export diversification, etc. Now the artificial intelligence can boost productivity, create industries, etc., which can support the goal of diversification of economy of the Algerian economy. But at the same time, we don't know exactly the problem that have a relation with AI, especially negative points like job displacement, wage inequality, etc. For this case, we ask the following question: is AI adoption an opportunity or a threat for the labor market or job market in Algeria? Now, this is a big question, but we will try to find a statistical approach or a statistical way in order to understand how can the AI affect the job market. Now, the impacts modeling approach used in the literature, we have the famous one, which is the Frey and Osborne, 2013 and 2017. For Frey and Osborne, he used the classification method based on subjective assignment of probabilities. Now, he has a group of scientists, and he tried to make categories or groups or subgroups of occupations. And after that, he retrieved probabilities. Now, this paper is criticized by many authors, like the Professor Zabin and Pfeiffer, which said that the probabilities provided in this paper are overestimated. Another problem related to this paper is that the probabilities doesn't have a time frame. So we have just a probability, for example, of a statistician is, for example, 0.99. But in which time, which period, we don't know. Okay, another problem in another publication is or research is the MGI, which is a famous one, 2017, where they divided each occupation to categories and subcategories. For example, we have cognitive capabilities, which contain different scales, and each scale they estimate the time frame or the interval of automation of these abilities or skills. The problem with this paper is that we know the probabilities of skills or the interval of skills, but we don't know the probability of an occupation, of the whole occupation. This is a great problem, I think, so which make this estimation unuseful. The last one is Fatoun and Pazour, 2021, where they linked the probabilities or the intervals given in the MGI publication with the owned database. Why the owned database? Because this database is a well-designed database that contains many informations. For our approach, we start by the Algerian occupational list of the ONS, the statistical office in Algeria, and we make many transitions and using crosswalks to translate this database to the owned database so that we can get all the required informations. Here the final results, for example, for statistician, you know, the table, we have a database for more than 700 occupation, and each occupation contains maybe more than 25 skills. And you can imagine how is the table. For example, for statistician, the oral comprehension, we have a level of 5, which means that this level is the importance of that skill and that occupation. Okay, we computed the mixing proportion in order to mix that abilities together in order to get the probability of automation using mixer distribution, which is a well-known technique in statistics. We have the standard error and the interval, etc. After that, we linked skills or abilities using mixed distribution, which is a class of compound distribution, to get the distribution of each occupation. Now we can get the probability at any time, the probability of automation or to exposition to AI at any point of time. We make some assumptions, of course, and you know that statistics is all about assumptions. For example, for skills that started to be automated previously, we assume an exponential distribution. Why? Because the exponential distribution doesn't have a delay time at the beginning. Okay, it starts to increase exponentially. We don't have a delay time. So for the first group, we estimated the CDF or the probability density function, and we get, for example, lambda 1.5, etc. So these are estimations. After that, we moved to the second group, which are skills or abilities that doesn't start or already started to be automated. We don't have the technology that allow us to automate this kind of skills. For example, like generating novel patterns or mobility, etc. In this case, we assume a weighable distribution. Why a weighable distribution? Because this kind of distribution are called life distributions or survival distributions. And we assume that, for example, if an activity is or started to be automated, so it's failed to resist to AI. So it's a failure distribution, so that you use this kind of distribution. We can use, for example, the log logistic distribution or the normal distribution, but I think the weighable distribution is the best one. Here are estimations. And after that, we link all that together using mixed distribution models, and we get the probability, for example, of time sharing. It started to be automated from 2038 to so we have a time frame or interval. After that, we summed up these probabilities to get the probability of the wall occupation. Okay. So there are a lot of calculations. I don't show that. Remarks that we get is that the distribution of occupations that contains many cognitive abilities or activities or skills are rightly skewed, as you can see here at the beginning. Yes. Rightly skewed, yes. And for example, baker packagers by hand, this occupation, yeah, 5 minutes, okay. Okay, now let's move to the completing the approach. Here we assume, as you know, that when there is technological readiness, doesn't apply an immediate automation due to factor like economic feasibility, etc. Now we estimate the distribution of the Weibull log logistic mixture distribution in order to see the spread of technology. Okay, in order to correct probabilities. And after that, here results, the automation risks, for example, for statisticians and bakers, we can see for developed countries, the distribution of statistician and the distribution of baker and packagers. And we can see the distribution in Algeria or MENA countries generally. We can see that the probability of statistician and baker and packager are the same. This is one of our main findings. As a conclusion, the automation process differs significantly between developed and low-income countries. In developed economies, automation experience many bottlenecks. In construct low-income economies follow three-phase automations process. So we have 3 phases. The most important is the second phase. In this phase, the automation starts to increase exponentially in developed low-income economies. And significant structural changes in labor market will be encountered. This situation can be worsened if the low-income economies doesn't develop or invest in this field. We verify our results using a questionnaire, so we don't need to maybe our results are confirmed using a questionnaire, qualitative insights, where we can see the same results as managers start to interest in AI with time exponentially. Okay. For example, for employees, a lot of them doesn't have an idea what does it mean AI, which is a great problem. Okay, which means that clear awareness and training program should be adapted. For recommendations, Algeria or MENA countries generally should invest in human capital through vocational training. This is very, very important, the vocational training in AI, technical training. Preachers youth skills developed to reduce unemployment, prevent rise of a jobless class, support local innovation and startups, facilitate access to automation tools through international partnership and for that technology transfer, align AI with local culture and societal norms in order to reduce resistance and strengthen technological sovereignty by formulating national and regional AI strategies. Okay, I think this is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachid, very much. Appreciate the complying with the time. And let me tell you, when I got the papers, the one that lived up to the title is basically the one, yes, this one, last one. This paper. The paper is about maybe 20-some pages. Only 6 pages are English. And the rest are tables and graphs and remind me very much with the first time I have seen computer printout. This is back in the 80s, but it was really impressive using of the algorithm and the model, because it produced a lot of probabilistic results. For all the paper, when I review, you will notice that I focused on 4 items. The originality of the paper, whether the methodology is appropriate or not, and of course, the recommendation, if it is practical or not. And I tried in the end to help with fetching out some paper, some references that were not used. So that you will find this in all of my review. So I'm not going to take more than 10 minutes, but the study, as you have seen, as a summary of it, analyze the labor market risk in Algeria from using the AI. The capability-based automation model seems to be the fitting one, adjusted for the emerging economy. The paper conclude that there is about 2.5 times the lag for the adaptation. And here, I remember when we have the COVID, the adaptation accelerated quite a bit. So maybe there are pressures that could come from outside. What we used to do, estimation was 35 years, was done in 1.5 years. So maybe we need another, God forbid, COVID for us to catch up. There was also talk about the sectoral vulnerability. The way that you have divided the sector is also very appropriate. And the economic constraint that has to do with the resource limitation. So in this case, you have the minimal risk. The study has an emerging focus that's quite bit needed, because very few paper that has the emerging market. And I think in Algeria, and specifically, they are really OECD-centric. So all of the results are based on OECD kind of modeling. The correction factor based on internet adaptation rates, this is what Rachid explained. And in a sense, you are explaining the gap between the OECD and the other Middle East economies. The mixed method approach is very also commended, combining the probabilistic model using the ONET with the qualitative insight from the Algerian survey that you have developed. The study overlap, however, was one study I have seen. I have the reference here, Kazaniga et al., and you can see that. Methodology is also fitting. You have used the capability-based model, estimating automation timeline, using the Webull log logistic distribution for 5 and 16 occupation. You use the technology diffusion adjustment, where the models show Algeria delayed adaptation by the historical internet penetration pattern. Now, here is my 2 cents in terms of limitation. Methodology include the internet adaptation as a proxy for AI readiness. Of course, there are other things that could be used, like the R&D investment or the regulatory framework, which is much important in our region than the other. Relying on the formal sector data that exclude, of course, the informal. And the informal in Algeria is about 50% of the GDP. In addition, there are some sample limitation because you have the survey of 12 companies, which is quite small number, risking basically the non-generalization for your result. There was no worker perspective as well. in terms of reskilling barrier, because I think it's important in order to come up with a recommendation to talk about the barrier for the worker in terms of relearning, so to speak. So you need maybe some sensitivity analysis for the accelerating AI breakthrough. Is there any other alternative methodology approach? You bet. There is firm level micro data. You can use it in order to check the adaptation rate. The World Bank Enterprise Survey may be used for that. Of course, you will, I think ERF has already this presentation and have my own report, so they will send it to you. The Asian-based model simulating the labor market dynamics could give you a lot of different scenario in terms of the policy. And the case study, in a sense, sectoral case study, could compare AI impact in oil versus other sector in this case. How the policy implications, very good policy implication, the priority vocational training and the AI maintenance, less automatable than the repetitive task. This is a very good and practical. Incentivize SMEs to adapt AI through tax breaks for localized AI. So these are very practical. However, there are some vague recommendations like investing in education. What type of education, how the investment will be, what are the actionable steps for Algeria youth unemployment. It's about 30% youth unemployment in Algeria. These are my 2 cents in terms of references, so you will have it. And again, this might complement some of the work. In summary, the study innovatively adapt automation models to Algeria context. And as I said, it lives up to the name. The policy recommendation requires some correctness. Future research should integrate the informal economy data and the sector-specific risk assessment as well. I think this deserves an applause for the authors because they have ventured to get into a topic that is very hard for economists. Thank you very much. We'll go back to Emmanuel. I don't know if Emmanuel hears us.
Yeah. Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, Emmanuel, yes. You go ahead and share your presentation. You have 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me share my share. Okay, so is it, please can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So in this presentation, I'll be, we modified the title a bit from the original, and I'll be doing this presentation with Professor Assem. In this presentation, this will be the outline, the introduction, methodology, results, and then I'll look at the conclusion and recommendation. So digital technologies, which refer to, digitalization, which refers to the use of digital technologies to transform and enhance business operations and organizational management, has become very crucial or important for firms. However, evidence suggests that successful digitalization remains a complex challenge for firms, in particular, firms that are located in developing countries. And worldwide, less than 1/3 of firms have been able to enhance and sustain their performance through digitalization. The impact of digital technology adoption on firm performance varies across regions and sectors, influenced by firm characteristics, the environment in which they operate, among others. In the literature, there is a mixed evidence on the digitalization effects on the performance of firms. And this is due to differences in the conceptualization, the measurement of firm performance, and the methodology used. So one strand of the literature posits that the effect is positive, mediated by size, experience, ownership, and market maturity, among other factors. Whilst another section or another strand of the literature also finds that the effect is negative, at least in the short term, depending on the specific performance indicator used. Now, when we, based on our review of the literature, we identify some gaps which informed or served as a motivation for our paper. And one is that previous studies have overlooked the role of intra-firm differences in shaping firms' access to and use of digital technologies. Aside that, studies using longitudinal data, aside that some studies have used longitudinal data to explore the effect, most cross-sectional research in this area have focused on digital technologies access or use as binary, which in our context we classify as being static measure of digital technology adoption, rather than the intensive or dynamic aspect of it. And most studies are also highly aggregated, offering very limited insight into critical characteristics, such as firm performance, trading status, and intra-firm competition. Now, in developing countries, the Pacific regions, such as China and India, with limited evidence in the Middle East and North Africa. So efforts to also, when you critically look at the literature, you notice that there's an element of endogeneity emanating from reverse causality between digital technology use and firm performance. But so far, efforts in this, the literature towards addressing this endogeneity has been, studies have used GMM, that is a generalized method of moment approach. And this is only linked to, or focusing on only social media and the banking sector. There's also lack of clear distinction between access and use. And here, we focus on these two because in developing countries, there are several constraints that always may not necessarily prevent access, will not necessarily cause access to translate into effective use. So based on this, we have two specific objectives. One objective is that we want to assess the varying effects of digital technology access and use, that is both binary and intensities. So intensities here, we have index of digital technology use and access, and then we assess their effect on firm performance. The second objective is to examine the role of intra-firm level differences in the effect of access and use of digital technologies, paying particular attention to firm size, foreign market participation, and intrasectorial competition. The essence of this is to understand the nuance, get the differences that may emerge due to these characteristics. Now, based on these two objectives, we have two hypotheses. So our research hypothesis one is that intensive access to intensive access to and usage of digital technologies have greater impact on firms' performance than the binary indicators of access and use. Two, the effect of access and use of digital technologies on firm performance are more significant among vulnerable firms. And here, our definition of vulnerable firms are firms that are micro firms, firms that are not engaged in trade, and those that face less competition in the area of operation. Now, in terms of methodology, our analysis relies on the cross-sectional data based on firms that is collected from firms, and the survey was conducted by the ERF in 2022, and the target firms were the firms that were set up before 2022. So the survey was conducted in 3 MENA countries, namely Egypt, Morocco, and Jordan. But we focus on Morocco to be able to provide country-specific context to the analysis. Now, the analysis was based on 806 firms, made up of 277 e-firms and 529 non-e-firms. So e-firms are firms that use digital technologies in their operations, and the non-e-firms are those that do not use. And this survey, this sample is obtained from a total of 27,975 firms that were systematically sampled. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, there's a possibility of endogeneity emanating from reverse causality. That is, firms that want to perform well would want to adopt digital technologies, and adoption of digital technologies would also affect firm performance. Also, so we noticed that about 83% of the firms are micro, which shows possible element of self-selection. So we need to address these two sources of endogeneity. Now, in terms of the instrumentation, we measure firm performance using two indicators: that's sales and fixed assets turnover. So here, fixed asset turnover is the sales divided by the firm's asset. Now, the static indicators of digital technology adoption, we compute two binary variables of access, taking the value 1 if the firm has access to specific digital technology, and that is emails and the other technologies that's supposed to be used. And then 2, the second one has to do with the same binary variable if the firm, we take on the value 1 if the firm uses that. So we distinguish access to from usage. Now with the intensive indicators, we compute two additive index for one for access and one for use, and scale the index to 100 for ease of interpretation. Then we, as a robust check, we use duration of usage as another measure of intensity. So how long the firm has been using the digital technology. Now, these are the variables that we included in the analysis. The table. So here at the top, we have the fixed assets turnover, which is one of the performance indicators. We also have the total sales. We have digital technology assets, which is computed as an index of firm access to digital technologies ranging from 0 to 100. We have the index of firms' usage of digital technology ranging from also 0 to 100. Then our instrument, which is the share of competitors in the same sector who rely on digital technology, such as internet and website, for their operations. And we use this as instrument to moderate the relationship between digital technology, access and usage, and firm performance on the other hand. And our assumption or our argument is that this competition is a form of a peer pressure that will force firms to adopt, because if every firm in the sector is using digital technologies, for you to remain competitive, you will be forced to use it. So the rest are the covariate, variables that we included in the analysis, such as including the firm size and the trade status. Now, this is our equation. The first equation has to do, this equation 1 is the firm performance as a function of digital technology adoption plus the covariate and then the error term. Then equation 2 is the equation. In equation 2, because we said that digital technology is endogenous, we regress it over the instrument, which is the competitors in the same sector who rely on digital technologies. That is the instrument. So the equation 3 is the refined equation where we have fetched the digital technology of the endogeneity concern. Now,
Emmanuel, we have 5 minutes, please.
Yeah, I'll finish it in time. Now we have the results. What we find is that generally, if adoption of digital technology, whether binary or as an intensive use, has significant and statistically positive effect on firm performance, regardless of the indicator, firm performance indicator. But we also test the difference between access and usage, as we mentioned in the hypothesis. So we find a difference that although the access has significant effect and usage also has significant effect, there is a statistical difference that is usage has higher effect than just access. Now we disaggregate the results. This is for the intensive access and usage. So the first one is a binary, and this one is the intensive usage. So we notice that Using digital technologies intensively has higher effect than the binary usage and access. Then we disaggregate the result, and we notice that I'll move on to the summary of the result because I have summarized the data. So what we found is that both access to and usage of digital technologies have significantly positive effect on firm performance. The impact of usage is greater than that of access, regardless of whether the indicators are treated as binary variables or as measures of intensity. And then the third point is that the effects are also more pronounced for micro-sized firms and those operating in the domestic market and facing lower competition within their sectors compared to the big-sized firms and those operating in the foreign market. Then the finding also underscored the critical role of assessing and using digital technologies in enhancing the inclusiveness and survival of vulnerable firms in an increasingly competitive business environment. So this has been basically what the results show, that adopting digital technology is very important for survival of these our operationally defined vulnerable firms. The finding also underscore a critical role of using, so policymakers, based on this finding, we recommend that policymakers in Egypt and other developing countries need to implement targeted digitalization policies that support small size and vulnerable firms. Such policies should address key barriers, including costs, service quality, and regulatory challenges that hinder access to an effective use of digital technologies by these firms. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. And we also have to mention the paper is co-authored with Hatab, Egyptian first one. And as you also have seen, the paper tackle again a very important topic. And anything that is in that area of digitalization is very much a novel one. We have basically interesting dynamic analysis of the technology adoption among Egyptian firms. The contribution is very much to the underexplored economies of Egypt and the MENA region, and the distinction between the static access and the dynamic use of digital technology is appreciated in this case. Again, there is similar work with Crello in 2023 that has been done, but that does not reduce the contribution here. The focus on the intra-firm heterogeneity, addressing the gap in the MENA focus literature, and also the integration of the transaction cost theory and the dynamic capability perspective is appreciated. As I mentioned, this is very much needed in this case. In terms of the methodology, they have used a robust instrumental variable approach, and they have used also the MTE, or the marginal treatment effect, along with using a Topit model for the robustness check. So all of this is very much in line with what the objectives are. However, there are some limitations, and the most important one has to do with the sample bias. The variables are extracted from the yellow pages of Egypt. The yellow pages exclude, again, not only the informal sector, but company that is not listed in the yellow page. So there is potentially overestimation of the digital adoption if we are using only the yellow pages. The static analysis in the cross-sectional design limit the casual inference, so you are not able to track the firm digital maturity trajectory in this case. For the IV, the competitor digital adoption may correlate with the unobserved market factors affecting performance. So probably longitudinal data could better capture the dynamic effect, how the performance evolve with the sustained digital use. The exclusion restriction is questionable. The competitor digital adoption may correlate with the unobserved factor, like the sector-specific, one more time, that could affect the firm performance. In addition to the self-reported metrics, firm sales and digital use data may suffer from the recall bias. Self-reporting or misreporting in this case is another limitation. If there are other alternative methodology, you bet. You might have the panel data in longitudinal and in difference in difference. The PSM mixed methodology between quantitative and qualitative case study micro level could contextualize the adoption period. So there are others that could be used. How about the policy recommendation? I found recommendation to be pragmatic. They emphasize the targeted support for the micro small firms and addressing the infrastructure gap. However, the study lacked the specificity in how to implement these policy. For instance, does not propose mechanism for subsidizing digital tools or improving digital literacy. Comparison with successful intervention in similar economy, like the India, for instance, Digital India Initiative, would strengthen the practicality of the implication. Three challenges also in the implementation. The infrastructure gap, 61% of the 4G coverage and unreliable electricity in rural area will limit the policy effectiveness. The gender digital divide, only 27% of the Egyptian women use digital finance versus 39% of the men, and it's unaddressed in the proposal. The regulatory hurdle, like the 5G spectrum allocation delay. Actually, there is another one, which is the eSIM. Every other country around in the Gulf was using eSIM. Egypt was lagging behind until only a couple of months ago. So these are all important in enhancing the literature. I have also put two major articles here. And as you can see, this is probably going to help in basically examining the digital transformation challenges in developing country overall. So the paper advanced the understanding of the digitalization in Egypt, and it's pushing the MENA digital economy research for future work. Could benefit from sector-specific adoption, very much like the one that happened in the previous paper. The policy framework would gain depth by incorporating the digital literacy metrics and the infrastructure investment timeline. This is in line with the 2030 Egypt vision, since I was one of the people putting these in the 2030 vision. Thank you very much for your effort, and I hope that we will see this paper published somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna go directly to the third paper. Maybe we have the third paper representation on site with us. Excellent. For a change. And this is the Tunisian economy. My friend Mohamed Marouani is not around. No. Yeah, I've asked about him this morning, and apparently he's engaged in another activity. Excellent. This is good. We have 15 minutes.
I don't know where. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Jean-Baptiste Guiffard. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at Telecom Paris and at Crest in Paris. I will present to you this paper written with Mohamed and Marouani. It's about the impact of mobile broadband quality on firm creations. And also we analyze the potential digital divide in Tunisia. So I will begin with the big question. In fact, we see broadband internet as a catalyst for development because there is a lot of paper about that. It lowers information and coordination cost. It can foster innovation, and it can allow firms to access new markets. Also, this impact is not so clear. It can be ambiguous. And in fact, the idea is that the digital revolution doesn't spread evenly across space, and nor does its impact. There is this theory that the internet would give the death of distance and the death of cities also. But in reality, we face what we called the paradoxical geographics of digital economy, because it can amplify the advantage of cities and the rural-urban divide. So our research question is the following. Can mobile broadband in Tunisia promote local economic growth through new firm creation, or does it deepen territorial inequality? Tunisia is quite interesting because this is a highly digitally connected country. There are 79% of individuals connected to the internet in 2020. There is also a rapid rollout of mobile broadband, the 4G network. And there is very strong political support for the deployment of this technology. But there is a fragile economic context. In fact, since the revolutions in 2011, there is a slow growth, political uncertainty, and underinvestment. And there is a large territorial disparities. For example, 93% of urban areas are covered by 4G in 2023, and only 43% of rural areas. We are using Tunisia as a case study. This paper is part of several stream of literature. I will not present today, maybe a little later, but we are using some data source, and the first one is the Registre National des Entreprises, so the national firm national register, and the idea is to we are using the firm location, so this is the delegation level. This is kind of district, and we have also the sector, the year of creation of the firm, and this from 2017 to 2021. And the idea of the data set is that we want to understand what would influence the area attractiveness. So we want to know what are the impact of several characteristics of the delegation on firm creation. and particularly the impact of mobile broadband quality. So we have several information on several variables on mobile broadband, and particularly 4G density. We have also agglomeration and competition variables, particularly the number of operating firms in the delegation, the sector share of total employment, also a special Hirschman-Erfindal index to have an idea of the competition in the area. We have also accessibility and outlets variables, particularly the population and some distance from several infrastructures, and also labor market information, particularly the mean level of education and the mean wage per year. And the important variable for us in this paper is the mobile broadband proxy. We are using OpenCellID information. This is the location of antennas, 4G antennas, every year in all the countries. And we are looking the number of 4G antennas divided by the population. So the idea is to have the number of 4G mobile antennas per 10,000 inhabitants. And the idea of this proxy is that when you have more antennas, a higher density of antennas in a delegation, you will have a better network coverage, but also a higher data transmission capacity. So the methodology is count model. We have the number of new firms as an outcome, and in a particular area each year. And we are modeling this as a function of the characteristics of the geographical area. So we have discrete and non-negative data, and for estimating this count model, we are using a Poisson model. And to a little bit address the endogeneity issue, we are looking only at the flow of new firm formation and not the stock of existing company. This is a way, following the argument of Nikon et al. In 2018, to reduce the risk of endogeneity. And also, we have and address the reverse causality issue by lagging by 2 years the explaining variables. And we have fixed effects, delegation and year fixed effects to control for omitted variables, because we can expect that operators can have higher incentives to deploy mobile antennas in area with higher demand or favorable tax regime. So this is the model we are estimating. This is very simple. We have the number of new firms created each year, and then the proxy of the quality of mobile broadband. This is the number of the density of antennas, of 4G antennas, and then several other location-specific characteristics. So I will present the results. The first thing is that we see an impact of high-quality mobile broadband network in influencing firm creation. So a unit increase in the density of 4G antennas per 10,000 inhabitants increases by 0.9% the rate of new business creation in Tunisia. And in fact, I will show you this impact is stronger for bigger firms. And we also test the impact on net creation. I don't have the table there, but we see that there is also an impact on net creation. It means that the impact is positive and there is no, in fact, destruction of firms, and the creation of firms is higher than the destruction of firms. And we see that an increase of 1 unit per 10th of 4G density increases another by 7.13% the number of active business in a delegation. Also, the results are robust to several estimation methods. We are using negative binomials model, fixed effect panel data estimation. Also, we added several controls like the 2G antennas density. And we have also used several lags of the explaining variables. So we see also a stronger impact in rural areas. This is these results. So an expansion of the density of 4G antennas per 10,000 inhabitants by 1 unit increases the rate of business creation by 4.9%. And in urban areas, the same increase in 4G antennas density leads to only 0.5%. And we see also a stronger impact for firms with more than 6 employees, around 16.2%. Yeah. And the impact of one interesting results is this one. We have determined several economic centers in Tunisia, the big cities, 6 economic centers, and we made several groups of delegation depending on the distance from these economic centers. And we have a first group. The table will be turned off in 1 minute. I don't know. What can I do? Just okay. Yeah, thank you. Check remote. Okay. So this is the center. So this is all the firms from 0 to 20 kilometers to the center of the economic centers. Then we have the delegation. Sorry, the delegation from 0 to 20 kilometers. Then the delegation from 20 kilometers to 50 kilometers, and then the delegations that are a little bit further. And we see that there is only a significant impact in centers and periphery delegation, the impact of 4G antennas density, and this impact is disappearing just after. And we say that the impact of mobile and broadband infrastructure density is no more observable in region beyond 50 kilometers. And it means for us that this impact is more substantial in economically and integrated and intermediate rural areas. The idea is that the depth of distance is not there at all. We see that it's very important to be integrated in economically active areas. So also we have this to finish this threshold effect. We see that there is only an impact of 4G antennas density when it's higher than 2 antennas per 10,000 inhabitants, and then the impact is higher and higher. And particularly in rural areas. So to conclude, this research shed light on potential pivotal role of mobile broadband internet in fostering local economic growth. And in fact, we want to analyze the various contextual factors, and it could have very important policy implications to bridge the urban-rural divide. Particularly, we see that it could be very important to deploy in a faster and in rural areas. Of course, we need to do some works after to improve this paper, particularly analyzing the mechanisms behind the contextual urban versus rural and sector-specific impact, and address the endogeneity by using an instrument. We have some ideas, particularly using the shift share instrument, and other proxy of the mobile broadband quality, mobile coverage, and Ookla data. We have also Ookla data that we will use in the future works. So thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate also sticking to the time. We have 10 minutes in my own discussion, and then we'll move, yes. We'll move to the question from the floor. Okay. No, this is not the one. This is not the one. Yeah, Tunisia, yes. That's the one. As you can see, I try to keep you entertained. So I had different PowerPoint presentation. This is my simplest one, but that doesn't mean that there is nothing exciting about this study. The study has basically analyzed the impact of the 4G infrastructure and the entrepreneurship in Tunisia. This is basically part of the finding, the positive relationship between the firm creation per unit and the rise in the 4G antenna density, and this is stronger in the rural area and near the urban periphery. The threshold, as you can see, the minimum 1.5 antenna by 10,000 people, and the sectoral variation affecting the ICT and service and commerce were basically limited impact on larger firms. That's larger than 6. Valuable insight into the interplay between the broadband infrastructure, mobile broadband that is, and the entrepreneurship. My evaluation will focus again on the 4 factors that I mentioned before, starting with the originality. Paper does contribute to the novel insight on Tunisia. High mobile internet penetration in Tunisia, but infrastructural disparity. The study overlap again with prior work on broadband. This is the Hojart and Bolson, Iker and Carly, one in 19 and one in 23. The context-specific analysis and the examination between the rural and urban divide in North Africa is original with the challenge to the distance hypothesis. Mobile broadband focus, unlike most study on fixed broadband, it uses the 4G antenna density as a proxy for the mobile infrastructure. And sectoral heterogeneity identifies stronger effect in ICT, service and commerce, aligning with digital economy trend. The methodology is robust because they have already enjoying the robust empirical design. They try to take care of most of the problem that usually happen with such modeling, the voice and fixed effect model with delegation. The count data is effectively handled. This is about the firm creation. The lag structure of 2 years variable mitigate the reverse causality as been mentioned in the presentation. In addition, the study threshold analysis identify the minimum 4G antenna density required for improvement. The study, again, suffer from some limitation. The 4G antenna does not capture the actual internet use, speed, or reliability. It's available, but you are not sure if it is used effectively or not. So maybe the proxy like the Ocala speed test is important, or a user survey. This probably needed to strengthen the validity. No distinction between residential versus commercial broadband access, which may affect the firm behavior, of course, in this case. Even though they try to take care of most of the indigeneity concern, mobile operator may deploy antenna in economically dynamic area, creating selection bias. An instrumental variable like the terrain ruggedness or the historical infrastructure could address this. There is some kind of spatial autocorrelation. Delegation near urban hubs may influence the neighborhood area. So maybe the spatial Durban could account for this spillover. Again, I always look for the informal sector, as you probably see. So this also is a factor here. They may have excluded the informal sector, playing or relying on the formal firm registration. And in the MENA region in general, the informal sector is quite significant. It's about 50% of the GDP in Tunisia. Maybe the mixed method approach could fill the gap, again, by surveying the entrepreneurship startup. Sectoral aggregation is in existence due to the broad sector category, like service. It could be segregated. Disaggregated analysis, again, fintech versus traditional service and so on, would probably strengthen the ICT rules. Here is some alternative methodology that I found useful in a lot of other study. The difference in difference, leveraging the staggered 4G rollout across delegation with the casual inference. Maybe machine learning, since we're talking about the digital economy, will identify the nonlinear relationship between the broadband density and the firm creation. I like also the qualitative interviews because you reach more people of the underrepresented by the interview, to include some of the informal sector as well. In terms of policy implication, study highlight the practical insight, infrastructure threshold, urban-rural linkage, complementarity measures. So this all is good. Some recommendation lack specificity, public-private partnership to subsidize the rural antenna, how it's going to be done. The skill training aligned with the IoT, this very much the same kind of general recommendation that you need to work on it. Two major reference here. One, explore how mobile broadband interact with the financial access to enable a startup. I think this is important. And the other one, use the firm level data from Kenya to analyze the productivity gains from the 4G adoption. Could be very useful if you include this into your analysis. While the paper advanced understanding of mobile broadband role in reducing the spatial inequality, methodological refinement, and deeper engagement with the firm level dynamics would enhance the rigor. The policy takeaway underscored the need for targeted infrastructure investment, but require actionable step for the implementation. These, by the way, recommendation is very much relevant to most of the MENA region. Probably I would say exactly the same about Egypt. Having lived in Tunisia, you were talking about the effect on the economic living, the effect of the standard, leveling up the standard of living in Tunisia. I believe there is a correlation between the internet use and the Arab Spring. I lived in Tunisia for 3 years, so I know how this have actually helped up with the spread of the political probably opposition, and I'm sure that it will have the same effect everywhere. Now we have about 15 minutes or so, more or less. I know Namis is looking at me, but we will ask for question from the floor, but maybe we take 2 from online if we have any. I am not sure if anybody raised their hand or not, but if there is none, I will take from the floor right away. Do we have? Okay, Ali.
Thank you, Professor Hassan. Thank you for your excellent presentation. So I'll start with the first one briefly. Thank you, Rachid. I agree with Professor Hassan regarding the innovation in methodology and technique. So I have a couple of questions. The first one regarding projection errors. We used to do in economics some scenario analysis when we do simulation and projection for a longer period of time. So would it be possible to have some scenarios, for example, if the economy is moving in direction one, being optimistic as an example, or pessimistic? So what could be the impact of AI on labor market outcome? And also, can we have the intertemporal effect between the current labor market situation and digitization in Algeria and the future outcome in terms of probability? If we can estimate the correlation, it's not necessarily causality or regression, but between the current outcome and the future. And also another observation, can other MENA economies benefit from your results? So what we can learn in terms of policy for other countries, it could be in North Africa or countries having similar structure. I know it's not a pure economic analysis, but maybe in future draft some intuition, some narrative beside your technicality, which is really interesting and for economists and for policymakers. Shall I continue with the second? Or yeah, briefly for Emmanuel, thank you for your presentation. So I believe legal environment matters substantially for your work. For example, do we have any variables to control for legal status in the firm? If it matters for firm performance and the relationship between digital and firm performance. And maybe I think problematic for Tobit model. I know you are focusing on the case of Egypt, but from policy perspective, since you have data from ERF data survey, to do some cross-country analysis and to compare between the 3 countries to overcome the possible problem of censoring data in the Tobit model. So in Tobit model, the more number of observation decreases, so capturing the right and left sensor data may be difficult. So if including the other 2 countries, which are Jordan, I think, and Morocco, may overcome this problem if you want to test it as a robustness check. And I missed this part also. Did you control for sector fixed effect in your analysis? And finally, for Jean-Baptiste, I think, or Jean, simply. So I believe you use Poisson model. So I think Poisson model in this case of application, if you have over dispersion and your dependent variable, if you test it, if you have over distribution of over dispersion, you may violate the problem of having constant variance. So if you use binomial, or if you want to test binomial negative model to relax the assumption of having equality between variance and mean, may be useful in order to test if the results will vary. Condition if you have over dispersion in your dependent variable. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ali. We will collect questions and then we'll give the author the opportunity to answer. We have one online, Dr. Hanan Nazir. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this session and for the 3 papers. Very much interesting. Enjoyed hearing the presentations. I have 2 or 3 questions regarding the first paper of on Algeria. Thank you for the presentation and for this paper tackling a very important part, a gap in the Arab countries and the MENA region in general. But when talking about methodologies regarding the effect of AI on the labor markets, I know that there are some methodologies regarding AI exposure indexes or indices. So this was not mentioned at all in the paper, and I believe that's even more related to AI than the Frey and Osborne automation probability index, which tackles mainly digitalization and automation, not per se AI. So in the literature, there is a big focus on the difference between different technologies and basically AI as a distinct technology than other technologies or automation in itself. So why didn't the paper, for example, use any of these indices? I know it is exposure, not net effect, but still it is into the literature. Another question is related to, if we're talking about the effect of AI on the labor market, I believe that I haven't have the time actually to read the paper itself, and sorry for that, but did the paper include anything about the readiness of the country to AI and its any indicators related to this? Also the strategies of Algeria regarding AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take one more question and then we'll give, please go ahead. على بال ما تروح من رأس الرجاء الصالح.
Long way for you. Thanks a lot. I enjoyed all of the 3 papers and I think they're excellent. Thanks so much for advancing this discussion about digital technology. Briefly on the first paper, I think I enjoyed very much, but I think you don't catch the opportunity for the job market. So I would slightly rename the paper because you only look at the automation. And you do it in an excellent way, but the net effect onto employment doesn't become clear, as it's difficult to foresee the job creation that is happening because all of the digitalization is very hard to estimate how it will evolve. I also wondered in the questionnaires whether you have something on the wage levels and whether the entrepreneurs do think that it impacts their probability to automate, because my impression is that, well, a lot of developing countries, they don't think about automation because labor is cheap enough to keep, well, to retain from that. So whether there was any reflection by the entrepreneurs in that sense. On the second paper, yeah, I think I don't have much to say, but that it's true that there was the differentiation between access and usage of the internet and the limitation of the yellow papers. I completely agree, but that's something you inherited with your data set. So if you make clear this limitation, there's nothing you can do about it. Definitely. And on the third paper, I enjoyed a lot as well. I also would recommend to use questionnaires, maybe also for this firm location decision process, because I think to prioritize between the different factors that play a role in this decision process, it would be good to have the entrepreneur's voice. And I wanted to point to literature on mobile broadband connectivity. on employment, so not on firms, but employment. There's a growing literature on that, and it might be good to compare also to get an impression of the effect onto the informal sector.
Thank you very much. We have only a couple of minutes. We'll give the opportunity for Rachid to answer first. And here.
Okay, there are a lot of questions, but I'll try to answer the most important. For scenarios, for the first question, your question is why I don't make scenarios. So when we talk about scenarios, there are a lot of factors, a lot of variables. We don't know exactly. For example, when we ask about the unemployment in Algeria, we don't know exactly how many employed persons are in Algeria. We don't have statistics. We don't have data. We don't have anything. So in this case, I think about making a new model that is based on probabilities. So I don't need to any data. I just try to make models and calculate probabilities. Outcome, the Algerian economy. There are some questions that have the same in the same context. When I build the model, I think that this is the basis of predicting what will happen in the future in the job markets. Why? For example, if I ask you about some cognitive abilities and how that could be replaced, this is something that doesn't happen now. So we need that technology to be implemented, and so that we will see its effect on what's on job market. And maybe we need to wait maybe more than 15 years or to start studying this subject. This is very difficult. So this is a probabilistic model, and it will be the basis for studies. So I have more than 700 occupations with probabilities from 2020 to 22 and after that to 100 year. Okay, this probability could be used later by researchers to make scenarios, to predict what will happen in the job market, etc. And this is a correction for the first paper of that I have mentioned at the beginning, which is the famous one. This is a correction for that paper. For example, when we see that paper, shortly, we find, for example, the probability of a baker is less than the probability of a statistician. This is illogic. So we correct that probability so that we will give researcher the data to make scenarios, etc. Okay, I will add for the use automation. Okay, what's Algeria have done in this field? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank you. Jean, if you want to.
It will be very quick. So for the first comment about the Poisson fixed effect model, in fact, in the recent literature in econometrics, it appears that binomial estimations are not so good, not consistent, etc. So this is for what, for example, Woodridge are that is, and also, of course, I have tested the non-negative binomial estimation in the paper, and the results are consistent. But yeah, this is for what I'm prioritizing the Poisson model estimation. And thank you for your recommendation. We are thinking to interview some entrepreneur. It's a very good idea, I think, to maybe to improve also the model and have several other variables that we don't maybe think important at this moment, but that are really important then. So and to inform also about the informal sector, it could be very interesting. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Emmanuel has excused himself because he's participating in another session. So we'll send him the question. We'll ask him to come back with the answer to you guys. So Namis probably would take care of that. Thank you very much. We appreciate your attendance, your participation, your activity, and hope to see you soon in a workshop or if not in the next year conference. Thank you very much.